I'm Mike Laracy. I'm with the Annie E. Casey Foundation. I'm co-chair of GIST, Grantmakers Income Security Task Force, an affinity group of foundations interested in issues related to poverty. Welcome to our Advanced Practices Institute, Public Will and Poverty Reduction, New Partners and New Lessons. We have 3 great sessions planned for this afternoon, so we'll get right into it. The sponsor of this API is Spotlight on Poverty and Opportunity Foundations. Ask the presidential candidates what they'll do for America. Casey is one of about a dozen and growing number of foundations supporting the project. Spotlight is about tapping into the presidential campaign, the 2008 presidential campaign, as the first step in developing political will. Political will needed to build and sustain an effort to reduce poverty. Cut poverty in the United States by half over 10 years, perhaps. Foundation voice is needed here. We really believe that foundations bring something to this effort. We have a lot of partners out there, a lot of people are doing things, but we think engaging foundations up front in this gives the effort more credibility, more visibility, and elevates it to a level that wouldn't otherwise be the case. Spotlight is about those who are struggling to make ends meet. It's not just about the 37 million people in the United States living below the official poverty level. It's about, poverty level is about $20,000 for a family of 4. And so you can see that it's a larger population that we're worried about. Spotlight was born a year ago today at the Advanced Practices Institute in Seattle. This is an outgrowth of that effort. We asked the question of the assembled foundations at last year's Council on Foundations, how could we zero in on poverty? How could we really take advantage of this upcoming opportunity, the presidential elections, to elevate poverty and opportunity on the national agenda? And that's where I met my good friend and colleague now, Andrea. So.
Hey, good afternoon. We thank everybody for coming. We know it's been a wonderful and long conference, and this is going to be one of the best sessions, I hope, that you will have attended. So thanks for joining us. When I came to the Council on Foundations event last year in Seattle, I walked into the API. It was exactly the same. It was an Advanced Practice Institute, the last session, and I met Jody and Mike at that point. I was new to philanthropy, having been actually a social entrepreneur beforehand, and I also ran for office, which I'll come back to in a second. And they, in a group about this size, these Advanced Practice Institutes are generally small groups of people who are thinking deep about an issue. They said, we've got this great idea for a website and a portal and a discussion, a national conversation about how we can engage the presidential candidates in a conversation and specifics around how to reduce poverty. And I held back. A few people raised their hands. They said, oh, we couldn't possibly get anything together in time. And I stood up and I said, how could we not do this? As an entrepreneur, I have a bias for action. And I think that the time has come for action. How could we not do this? How could we as a sector, as foundations, not speak to whoever is going to be the next president and say, we spend billions of dollars every year fighting poverty, but we see it's just getting worse. We need to engage our next president. We need to engage other elected leaders in this conversation. So I was so excited to jump onto your vision, Jody and Mike, and I'm thrilled today that there are 13 foundations supporting it, and I hope it will grow. Just very quickly, I was a social entrepreneur for many years, working in entrepreneurship and economic development, and I decided to run for office in Massachusetts. I ran for lieutenant governor, not successfully. Had I won, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today, so things did work out well because I'm thrilled to be in this sector. But when I first chose to run, the advice I got, and I'm not a politician, I'm an entrepreneur, so the advice I got from the political glitterati, or pundits, if you call them, was don't talk about poverty. As a Democrat running for office, I was told, don't talk about poverty. Nobody cares. It's not true. The public is ahead of the politicians. So Spotlight and all of our work has to keep that conversation going. The public is so far ahead of political will. So nothing could be more important than this conversation. Today, Spotlight has made a difference. We started last year, about a year ago. We launched with the website in October, and now all 3 of the remaining candidates are on the site. They are talking about it. They have serious initiatives around how they will reduce poverty, and they have approached it in the way that we've approached it, a big tent. It's not a partisan issue. Everybody wants to approach this issue, and let's find common areas where we can move forward. So thank you for being here. For those of you who are not yet involved with Spotlight, I hope you will. I hope you'll call us, call Mike or me if you're interested in understanding what we see in this and why we've supported it. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Joe. Oh, back to Mike. Thank you.
Before we turn it over in just a minute, I do want to mention some of the other funders that are working with us on this Spotlight, partners on this project. The California Endowment, the Endowment for Health of New Hampshire, the Foundation for the Mid-South.
Some folks are in the audience, too.
And if you're in the audience, raise your hands. The George Gunn Foundation, the Hagedorn Foundation, I know you're here, Linda. Living Cities, the Louisiana Disaster Recovery Foundation, Stoneman Family Foundation, and we have a couple more in the pipeline who have